So some discourse is broken out in my comments about Francesca Bridgerton and whether she is bisexual or a lesbian and whether she was actually attracted to John or actually in love with him. And I just wanted to come on here and give my in-depth thoughts about it. And before I go any further, it's important to note that while I will be disagreeing with this commenter, I'm not here to attack them in any way. Importantly, we need to note that, we don't actually necessarily know which way they're going to go with her character because the storyline is still ongoing. All could be made clear when we finally get Francesca's season. Any of us could end up be proven wrong, or they could end up not saying one way or the other. My read on the character is that she's a lesbian. I don't think that this in any way devalues her relationship with John, but I don't think that she was attracted to men. And there are specific textual clues that lead me to think this. The first of which is her reaction at their wedding after they kiss for the first time. It's like a split-second reaction and the camera doesn't linger on it for too long, but you can tell just on her face that there's something a little bit off. And I actually didn't know what this was when I watched this scene for the first time, and then I got to the end of the season and the Michaela reveal happened and I was like, oh, I know what this response was now. It's that split-second disconnect of oh, that didn't feel like I thought it was going to feel. I wasn't as into that as I thought I was going to be. Right before she puts the smile back on and steps right back into the role of the glowing bride. As for the Michaela reveal and the whole element of her getting flustered and tripping over her words, as much as I don't like that story beat because I do think that it undermines the very valid argument that she had just been making to Violet, this did seem to me to be communicating that there is something different about the way that she feels about Michaela versus the way she feels about John. This could just be chalked up to bisexual people experiencing attraction differently from one gender versus the other, but this doesn't say attraction to me. Nor does the way that she approaches the marriage mart at the beginning of season 3. She's very much treating marriage as a responsibility and less as something that she actually wants to do. And after John dies, she talks about how she failed in her responsibility as a wife to give him a child. There are many different reasons why she would think or feel this way, but to me, it strikes me as the language of compulsory heterosexuality. The issue is that there are multiple explanations for all of these. There are multiple different ways to interpret these textual clues. However, I have to think about what do I think that the writers are trying to convey with these clues? For example, the pinnacle of it all. There are multiple reasons as to why a person, particularly an AFAB person, might not be able to get there. One of which is potentially her being autistic, because autistic people do often struggle with interoception and having a strong mind-body relationship. But if I'm thinking about what the writers are trying to convey, I don't think that all of these things are meant to convey that she is neurodivergent because I don't think that that's the crux of her storyline. I think it's far more likely that what they are trying to communicate is that Francesca is trying to fit herself into a particular mold rather than following her actual desires. None of which is to say that I think she didn't love John. I think that there was definitely platonic, maybe even familial love between them, and maybe even